Hi again, welcome to the next video in the algebra series. In this video we review the cross method approach to factorising monic quadratics, in other words those quadratics having 1 as the coefficient of x squared. Factorisation is very common in mathematics and factorising quadratics is the most common requirement, so you have to be good. There are two common methods used to factorise a quadratic expression or equation, the cross method or the PSF, product sum factorising method. The cross method is the more commonly used by mathematicians. Students generally find this method easier and quicker. Clearly the two methods are linked. We now look at an example and develop the general steps for the technique. Then we can look at some specific modifications which can then generalise our technique to all sorts of questions. Step 1 is to write down the quadratic expression or equation. Well, we've done that, so now step 2, draw two large intersecting arrows under the expression to form an x. Step 3, write little x terms at the top and bottom on the left hand side of the arrows, because we can multiply those two together. X times x gives us x squared, which is our first term in our expression to be factorised. Now we're going to write factors for the constant term at the top and bottom of the right side of the crossed arrows. Choose these factors if there is a choice, sometimes there's not because it's a prime number, with a thought to the coefficient of the x term. Larger coefficients for the x term might imply the factors have a greater difference. Well, here we'll just pick numbers in the middle, so the factors of 20 are 5 and 4, and 5 times 4 is 20. At present we've just written down the two numbers, 4 and 5. There's no signs on them. And so step 5 is where we check the signs in front of the factors by reference to both the x term coefficient and the constant term. So if the sign in front of the constant is positive and we have a plus 20, then the two numbers must be both positive or both negative. If the sign in front of the x term is positive, we have plus 9, then the two numbers must be both positive. So we're going to change our 4 and 5 to plus 4 and plus 5. Step 6, check the cross multiplication to see if you obtain the required middle term with the correct sign. It's like going on a slippery dip. So we're going to multiply x by 5, which gives us 5x, and then we're going to multiply 4 by 4x, which is plus 4x, and we can see that plus 5x plus 4x is equal to 9x, which is what we want. And so we can just go straight into step 7 to write down the factors we have developed. So we've got x plus 4 bracket x plus 5. So that's fine. And now the last step, terribly important, step 8, smile because you've obtained the correct factorisation. So these 8 steps are what we're going to follow every time to be able to factorise monic quadratics. So let's take a second example. So step 1, we're going to write down x squared minus 5x plus 6. Step 2, we're going to do our big blue arrows going across underneath the expression. Step 3, we're going to write the x terms at the top and bottom because we know that x times x gives us our first term of x squared, and then we're going to write down factors of the constant term. Now the constant term is 6, so we're going to either choose 6 and 1 or 3 and 2. Let's go for the middle of those, 3 and 2. We'll write them down, and then we're going to check the signs in front of the two factors. A little bit different to what we had in example 1, because here we have a negative value in front of the x term. Now, if the sign in front of the constant, just like last time, is positive, the two values must be both positive or both negative. If the sign in front of the x term is negative, which was what we've got here, we have a minus 5, then the two values must be both negative. So we're going to change our 3 and 2 to a minus 3 and minus 2. In step 6 we're going to check the cross multiplication, so we've got x times minus 2 is minus 2x, and then minus 3 times x is minus 3x, so we have minus 2x minus 3x equals minus 5x, which is exactly what we want. So now we write down the factors we have developed, and we've got x minus 3 times x minus 2. So we've completed our factorisation. It's time to smile. Example 3. We're going to factorise x squared plus 2x minus 15. So we've written that down. We've drawn our big arrows. We've written our x terms at the top as we normally do. X times x is x squared. And then we're going to write the factors of the constant term. Now 15 is either 1 and 15 or 3 and 5. Well, we'll go for 3 and 5 as a starter. And then we have to check the signs in front of the factors. Now if the sign in front of the constant is negative, like we have here, we have minus 15, then the two factor values have to be opposite in sign. If the sign in front of the x term is positive, and here we have a plus 2, then the larger value, i.e. the 5, must have the positive sign. Let's now suppose that we get those guidelines mixed up and we put a plus 3 and a minus 5. Well, when we come to step 6 and check the cross multiplication, then we're going to have minus 5x plus 3x, which is minus 2x, which is not what we want. So go back, change the signs again, so it's now a minus 3 and a plus 5, and we have 5x minus 3x, which is the plus 2x that we want. Then we can write down the factors that we've developed, x minus 3 times x plus 5, and then we can smile. So last example, we're going to factorise x squared minus 4x minus 21. So we do our arrows, we write our x terms, top and bottom on the left hand side. We write our factors of 21. We're not going to worry about 1 and 21. We're going to go to the middle ones, 3 and 7, write them down. We're going to have a look at the signs in front of the factors. Now here, if the sign in front of the constant is negative, and that we have minus 21, so yes, we have that, the two values must be opposite in sign, as before. If the sign in front of the term in x is negative, then the larger value must have the negative sign. And of course we have minus 4x, so we're going to change our factors to plus 3 and minus 7. Then we can rewrite our factors and remember to smile. So that is the story of factorising monic quadratics using the cross method. I have reproduced the steps we have followed on the website. Practice these steps until you find this factorisation to be a really straightforward technique. In the next video we will develop similar guidelines for non-monic quadratics, having a number other than 1 in front of the x squared term. Thanks for watching this video. Go and do some quadratic factorisations in Test Yourself 1 on my website at drjaysmaths.com. Good luck. See you in another algebra video soon.